Hi there, I'm Chris Donaldson, Executive Chairman of TinOne Resources. Wanted to give you a little update on TinOne and what we've been up to and talk a little bit about the news that we put out today. Despite the markets being fairly slow in the summer here, we've been quite busy. Before I get into it though, let's talk a little bit about the tin market. Despite some weak data coming out of China, the tin price is actually holding quite strong. Couple reasons potentially for that. One, a lot of chatter around artificial intelligence, AI, and the impact that might have on semiconductors. We're also seeing strong growth in the solar industry. So those are reasons on the demand side, but more likely it's because of factors that's affecting supply. So if you remember, about 80% of the world's tin comes from the DRC, Indonesia, Malaysia, China, and Myanmar. Myanmar, at the end of this month, which is July, have decided to ban or curtail their production of tin from alluvial sources in the WA state, WA state. That represents about 8 to 10% of world production. So that will likely have an effect on the tin price, certainly will on the supply. And 10% is significant. We saw the Mincer mine, which I think is around 8 or 10% as well. Earlier this year, it went offline for a couple of months and the tin price almost doubled in that period. The second thing is what's happening in Indonesia. Indonesia, which accounts for 20 to 25% of world production, I've taken a stance similar to what they did with the nickel space, and that they're trying to create a vertical within the country. So they're planning on banning exports in the hopes of attracting investment for smelters, and they represent 20 to 25%. So in aggregate there, we have about 35% of world supply that is potentially in jeopardy. That could be an absolute shock to the tin price. So the back half of this year, you definitely want to stay tuned and see what's happening with that tin price. And with TinOne, we definitely have two narratives that are going right now. First of all is on the tin side. We've been drilling all last year. We had a very successful campaign, with 3 goals in mind on the drilling program. 1, to prove out the historical resource on the Great Pyramid project. 2 was to test at depth, and 3 was to test laterally. We were successful on all accounts. We're now taking all that data and are well underway to update our resource. So over the next couple months, so by the end of the summer, we should have an updated resource, which should get us onto the map and have some significant increase to our previous historical resource. The second is what's happening at our project about 20 minutes up the road from Great Pyramid. This is Aberfoyle. Of course, this is still in northeast Tasmania in Australia. And if you remember, we, a few months ago, while we were doing some sampling and rock sampling and mapping, we did some multi-element testing and found some high levels of lithium in micas, including one sample over 1%. So that was a great find for us. The goal now is to see if we have something of a potential scale. So we've been blanketing the property with soils and rock sampling, and today we put out a new release identifying a new zone about 9 kilometers from our original zone, which had strong lithium in soil anomalism, and that's very good news. So now we have multiple zones of lithium anomalism, and we'll continue to sample on that. And while this is going on, and what will come out in the next couple of weeks, we haven't drilled anything yet, but we were able to uncover or find some historical core from the Aberfoyle mine when it was in production up until the 80s, and we're analyzing that for lithium. Of course, they were targeting tin and tungsten at the time, but if we're able to get some lithium in the granites and potentially in the sediments, that'll really inform us as to our next steps. So more results coming in the next couple weeks with that core. Of course, at the end of the summer, we're going to have an updated resource on the tin side, so stay tuned on that. If you want to stay in touch, you can follow us on Twitter at TinOne Resources, or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly, Chris@tinone.ca. Thanks.